I'm Will Hanson and welcome to the Experts in the Room podcast brought to you by Extreme Push. In this series, we chat to some of the leading minds working in the customer experience, retention and data space in some of the most competitive and fastest growing industries in the world. In this episode, Casino Royale, I spoke with Head of CRM at Grace Media, Rebekah Douglas. Rebekah is a veteran CRM manager in iGaming and brings a wealth of expertise and top tips for anyone working on casino, bingo or iGaming CRM programs. We chat about how user experience is at the forefront of Grace Media's retention plans and how brands can escape the bonus spiral and drive more enjoyment to their valuable player communities. Rebekah Douglas, Head of CRM from Grace Media. You're very welcome to our podcast, Experts in the Room. Super excited to have you on the podcast. I know we've sat on a couple of panels together before and had your nuggets of CRM wisdom shared with us. So I'm really keen to dig into what you guys at Grace are doing at the moment, particularly in the casino space, and kind of talk about some of your customers and some of the work that you're doing as a head of CRM. Thanks for coming on board.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Rebekah, as a place to start, I'd love to get just a little bit of background of your experience in the iGaming and kind of gaming world, and maybe just a little bit of an overview about Grace Media and the work that you're doing as head of CRM with them.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of what Grace Media is, so we're an iGaming solution and a casino and bingo operator. We provide services to multiple partners and multiple brands, with CRM being one of them. And so what our goal is really to achieve optimal player retention for our partners. We do that through creating promotions, utilising game content, creating and executing player communications, optimized journeys, and we manage the on-site content as well. So that's kind of largely what we're doing in the CRM space for Grace Media. My experience, so I've actually been with Grace Media since it formed just over 3 years ago. And prior to that, I had been in the gaming industry for 3 years. I think it's been around 6.5 years now.
Veteran.
Yes, so
yeah.
Bit of a veteran. So sort of just grown from, starting as a marketing executive and, kind of grown through it that way, going into brand management of casino for a casino brand. Sort of then going into this role, heading up the CRM for Grace Media for multiple brands and multiple partners. So it's been a fun journey.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to your experience, particularly being head of CRM at a brand like Grace and the brands that you're working with, and you're exactly the type of person that I know our listeners want to get some wisdom from and some practical tool tips that they can maybe put into their belt. So I'd love to hear about kind of your day-to-day and some of the roles that you're juggling as a CRM manager. I'm sure it's not all simple and unified, and it's creating workflows and stuff like that. I know you've got some big projects going on in the last 12 months. Maybe talk us through some of the stuff that you're working through. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, we're always working on quite a lot of projects outside kind of just the BAU of CRM and promotions and whatnot.
And we will get into the BAU. Don't you worry. We're going to get into those weeds, I can assure you.
The last 12 months, it's been a busy, productive year for us. More recently, we've a big projects that we've had on have been some. We've onboarded a couple of new partners and brands. So that's been a migration project, a couple of migration projects that have kept us really busy over the last few months. Obviously, migrating brands means making sure, all the data is in the right place and that, the transition is as smooth as possible for the customers, because you kind of moving them from one place to another, essentially. They have been kept us pretty busy because we just need to make sure that everything works as it should, make sure that we're putting the things in place that we need to ensure that retention doesn't drop off, and that they kind of have that seamless experience when coming back to the brand where it is now compared to where it was before, and just basically, like, now that those migrations are complete, we're just working on making sure that we're focusing on loyalty and reactivation and stuff, and the customer experience, really just making sure that we're like warming up those players and making sure that they stay loyal to the brand as they were pre-migration.
And do you work with a team on that under you, or are you very hands-on in your role with that? Like, obviously you've got product side of the house that would be working on front end stuff as well, I'm sure, and kind of back end integrations. But for you, is there a team of CRM marketers that sit under you that help keep that BAU ticking over and you build out your strategies that work?
Yeah, definitely. So I have a team of 7 who have all been pretty hands-on with this project, and then we've got some who are looking after the BAU side of things while we're more focused on migrations. And yeah, we are pretty hands-on as a CRM team. To be honest, we manage the game content as well.
Yeah.
And sort of in charge of what's showing on the front end. That's all sitting with us as well at the moment. So yeah, really hands-on in making, in terms of testing and making sure that things are working, setting up and testing in the back end as well. And kind of juggling those different systems and making sure that everything works as it should be, spotting problems early. It's obviously, like you say, these kind of projects do involve pretty much every department, and making sure that all the areas are covered of what needs to be working correctly. But yeah, we're certainly very hands-on as a team in terms of both front end and communications and back end.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting too, that you guys have got a real incentive a real ownership of your user experience on your front end and the games that are flowing through there. I think that is probably a little bit atypical within the industry. You might see CRM teams being a little bit more siloed into the front ends and the games that are getting put onto the casino sites and the bingo sites. Do you find that gives you a way better understanding of the players' engagement with the brands that you're working with? And is that helping inform the decisions you're making around the type of offers and the type of promotions that you guys are using to push more play, I guess?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very beneficial for us because being aware of, the games that are working best and in top positions on our lobbies feeds into the promotion planning process as well. I find, like you say, I think there's bigger companies probably have their specific areas and their silos, but we find it beneficial definitely as a team to be managing both sides. We can take things into factor things into our decisions with everything that we're doing based on both sides of things, like what's going on site and the customer journey over there and what games are being played compared to what's making them convert onto the site from in terms of the player communications, and it all feeds into each other, like what's the top performing game this week, has this new game that's come out performed well in the last week, and then also considering costs as well, like in terms of like game royalties and promotion spend. So it all feeds into our decision making as a retention team. I think it's really beneficial, and it's good for us because we're just getting into the other areas and just building on our knowledge by doing it that way. So it works for us for sure.
Yeah, cool. And I like that theme of the promotion strategy and the way that you guys think about it. I think as end users, we can go on and maybe knowing that things aren't super random, but you can kind of see brands that aren't being super personalized and things are just quite random in what's getting presented to you. How do you see that from a practical or a tactical standpoint when you're sitting there looking at mapping out these types of user journeys? Like, what's foremost in your mind? Is it a mix of commercial realities on the back end for you guys, or is it what's most important for the player and getting a good experience? How do you balance those kind of two competing interests, I guess? difficultly, I imagine.
Yeah, no, you said the right word. Balance is key, and it's always something that we strive for, because user experience is so important, and definitely will be a continued focus for us as we build on our product this year, making sure that the customer experience is seamless and enjoyable for the player as possible. And that starts from, our campaigns, whether email, SMS, campaigns, and giving them something that they want based on the data that we have and that we've seen in our reports, promoting kind of the most popular games or maybe a new game that is a similar theme, and going from there and converting them onto the site and making sure that they can navigate to that game or that promotion easily, and not come on any stumbling blocks. That is certainly has to be at the forefront of our mind. And that's what we're considering when we're creating our CRM journeys. But commercial as well, because it's important. We want to see good ROIs, and we have to factor in that game royalties and things like that, and promotional budget. And certainly when we're doing our analysis on promotions that we've ran, we're looking at both things like the take up, how many people converted. And we're also looking at the ROI and also the player value, the deposit value. See, did this particular promotion drive more deposits than another one? Sort of going back to the original question, I think it is balanced for us, trying to find both, and we don't stick to go stick to one over the other, really. We try and get it right on both sides. So always testing, reviewing, improving where we can.
Yeah, I love that iteration. Do you guys sit closely to your acquisition function? Is that part of your remit as the CRM team, or are you kind of, I imagine you're working very close with them, but converting those acquired customers, and we know in the space that, the cost of affiliation, the cost of landing a new player onto a website just seems to continually climb, and particularly in certain markets, and creating market share is so difficult. Do you sit very closely on that decision-making process, or is it something that you support in different ways?
Just definitely, I would say it's something that we support, particularly for brands that we own. So obviously have an acquisition team in-house, so it's easier to align with what they're doing, and try and make sure that there's promotions or site content on there that resonates with what the player is seeing in the acquisition marketing. So yes, for our house brands, we definitely have those conversations and try and align that way. And then obviously we have a lot of partners who do their own acquisition. So we don't always know exactly what they're doing, but we certainly do keep an eye on sort of the key KPIs. So registration to deposit, making sure that that conversion amount is, achieving what the partner would expect to see. And kind of just making sure that we've got everything in place from a retention perspective to keep their players coming back to us, playing in their second month after their first deposit, their third month, and just trying to build that loyalty, so that once they've played for a few months with us, they're more likely to come back more regularly. So whilst we don't always know what every brand we look after is doing acquisition wise, as soon as we're getting new players in, first time depositors, we're all over them from that. They're with us from that point basically, and it's our responsibility to make sure that they play and engage with the brand.
Yeah, I think you can see that with the brands that have that full brand ownership of that, what you're seeing from an acquisition point of view, from TV ads all the way down to when you first land on a website. Having that brand story is so important, I think, for the ones that are successful, which then makes your life as a CRM manager probably a fair bit easier to resonate with that if you've got a clear strategy. I want to dig into something that you talked about earlier there around friction and frictionless. I can't even say that word. Making a frictionless experience for the user. Do you have some, if you're listening as a CRM manager or a CRM exec, right? What are the quick wins that you've seen in your career where you can go, right, this is an obvious drop-off point that brands are missing, or ones that we can go in and fix quickly. Are there some tools and tips that you could give in that space around, some core ones in your flows that you see constantly being either a challenge or an opportunity to maybe improve?
Yeah, so in terms of the friction, I guess the biggest drop-off you find is after the first deposit. People come on and try once, and then they're typically can be the harder ones to get back. So I think it's all about reacting quite quickly after that first deposit. Make sure, thank you, we're so happy to have you playing with us, and offering enhancements, and then putting them into an FTD journey that then, if they're not engaging straight after their first deposit, gives them maybe an enhanced offer, and is also talking to them about features that they might have missed on the site that will interest them. So I guess my main quick win would be sort of the reaction, like to react as soon as someone has, put the trust in the brand to make that first deposit with us, for sure.
And this will sound like a shameless plug, but having tools that can react in real time to players obviously is hugely important for teams like you. We see so much success from brands, particularly in the casino space and the bingo space, where they can talk to people in situ on the websites or within the apps while people are playing, particularly on their first time, and recognizing that. But if you miss that 30, 40-minute window where someone has invested their first time deposit, they've come through your acquisition channels, and they're like, we'll give this brand a go, and I'm not sure. If you miss that opportunity to get that information or that experience, not just a bonus, I think is so important. So it's an interesting one, and I think brands can really learn from that.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting point what you said, and interesting about apps, because apps is something that we're going into more as well. We've got a few apps for our brands, so it's the same thing, like using the Extreme Push platform, push notifications. So as soon as you get someone who's downloaded the app, welcoming them onto it via a push notification, and reacting to them, either registering, depositing via the app straight away, via those pushes and messaging. So that's something that have been working a lot over in the last few months, as well as we've got a couple of new apps on our brands. So that's been an interesting one for us. Yeah,
very cool. And I think one of the key challenges is for brands to get kind of out of a bonus spiral. That seems to be where people chase first time deposit bonuses and continual bonusing to the point that it becomes you're becoming negligible on your lifetime value. You guys are running some cool stuff around big giveaways and promotions as a way to differentiate in that type of space. Like, do you want to give us a bit of insight into that?
Yeah, definitely. So we've ran quite a few giveaways in the last few months. So we did a big one around Christmas time, and we did one in January as well. And these seem to work really well for us. They're basically prize-based giveaway draws, randomly selected winners, essentially, cool. And we've been the last few ones have been mostly cash prizes at different tiered amounts, but we are looking into, and have done before, ones with tangible prizes as well, so Amazon vouchers and an iPhone in the past and that kind of thing. These have worked really well for us. It seems to keep people coming back, and basically just drives the overall returning player numbers and our actives that we have on the site. January got really good player numbers for a January, for sure, because obviously typically January can be quieter and more challenging. Post Christmas, people are saving their pennies. So to see the reaction to it in January has been really encouraging for us, and we know that now that these kind of things work, it's a nice message to push throughout the month, like you could win something, and there's not too much in terms of stakes to be involved in these kind of promotions if we're doing it randomly selected as winners, and it's exciting content for us to put around into our marketing as well, in obviously our emails, our SMSs, our retention stuff, but also to give to the acquisition teams and the partners, so that they can shout about it as well. And it just seems to drive that more frequency in terms of gameplay. People come on more often. So yeah, it works really well for us. And we're going to be looking into running quite a few more, I think, this year. Around different prizes and maybe making them more interactive as well if we can. So that's in the plans.
I think that tangible piece is really interesting too. It's something that I'm picking up in talks in the market, that to break bonus loops, things like this, where you're running competitions that are not necessarily based on they're based on either a randomness or a selection. So you're building a word of mouth through the community that, oh, this is really cool, I've played this one and I managed to win I got given a jackpot just because I played a couple of times. The tangible thing is interesting because being an Australian and growing up in pubs and clubs in Australia, seeing the old school, glass cabinet with the loyalty rewards when you hit 1,000 points because you've been in, even if it's eating a meal or if you're playing the pokies, for instance, in Australia, or betting at the TAB, you go up to the cabinet and you choose, I want that MP3 player or whatever it was. I think there's a real opportunity for brands to look into the tangible market and partner with some cool things there with guys like Amazon, where you're selecting products instantly as your reward rather than a monetary value. And I think that'll be interesting as it plays out through 23 with market conditions. I suspect people will get more benefit from that. And then the brand recognition helps. I suspect it will help brands in the long run.
Definitely. And it's good because there's quite a few things you can do, especially with vouchers, which makes it obviously easier to deliver as well, but you can theme all sorts of different kind of vouchers or gift cards or whatever, around different types of promotions. So obviously, if you're doing a summer giveaway, maybe you want to give vouchers for a holiday or that kind of thing. So there's a lot to go at, I think, as well, in terms of what prizes that you want to give out in your giveaways. And obviously we include the cash element in it still,
of course.
because a lot of players do like to have the cash in their accounts. But in terms of marketing materials, prizes are great to utilise.
And I want to get into, so talking about your players, you as a CRM team, you're probably closer to your players than anyone else in your business, right? Maybe there'll probably be arguments from different people within the business, I'm sure, about who's closest. Maybe the devs right in the back end. But when you're looking at data with your players, like what types of data points are you really trying to dig in to understand players? Do you look predominantly at what they're either playing or their actions maybe within a website or an app, rather than their demographics? Like, what are the really important pieces to pull out for you guys?
Yeah, for us, definitely the behaviour on the site, and trying to understand what day this player plays, how many times a week, and also looking at payment methods and things like that as well. We work with the payments team because that's kind of an important part of the product is, the payment methods and how they deposit. And yes, games for sure, pulling game reports and seeing what are the most popular slots. And is this particular player, are they a table player or are they a slots player? Okay, which table games are they playing if it's those ones? And then using that information is when you can start to maybe think about the commercial aspect and see if we can cross-sell them onto a game that is cheaper in royalties for us. So if this person likes a table game, is there another one that they can play, which might be more commercially viable for us? So again, it's going, as we discussed before, going back into that, using that player information and trying to find the balance of implementing strategies and promotions that the players like, whilst trying to cross-sell to, help us commercially as well.
Yeah, and in your 6 years as a vet within the industry, and genuinely, I think that's quite impressive, like how quick, because the industry moves quick. It feels like, if you're in for 6 months, then you've done a pretty good slog, I think. Have you found that you're starting to use tools and partners that are taking away the manual lookup of data and the manual kind of figuring out of these strategies to help you get to the holy grail of, I imagine, kind of automation around doing predictions, around doing kind of, things in an automatic way at scale so that you can target these cohorts? Like, is that something that you've seen really evolve in a good way? Do you think it's got further to go? Are you looking at partners to help you with that type of stuff? That would be an interesting kind of topic.
Yeah, definitely. We have a partner that we're working with on AI and that machine learning. So we're building more into that. We've been operating with them in the UK market, and we're using them for the international market as well. And they are going to be this kind of AI and automation is going to be key for us this year as we build more and more out into different geographics, because there's like geographics is a key one for us at the moment, because a player from Canada is not the same as a player from Chile, so you need these tools, right? You need automation to help with efficiency, and then there's the AI, the machine learning that will work to deliver a promotion or a message to that particular player that is suited to them.
And I think I was going to jump in there, the delivering a message that's suited to them, and I find the geo stuff really interesting, particularly for casino, right? You can have someone that might be from Chile but have exactly the same the same propensity and the same data points as someone from Canada, but if you're not quite recognizing that there is one little difference in there, that you might be delivering a different experience that's not resonating. So if you're lumping that into a traditional data point of it's person plays X game, they've deposited like this, they use the same payment system, but you forget to look at that demographic pit as well, then you might be missing a trick within your retention schemes as well. Hard to do at scale, but the more that brands are coming in and starting to look at this and understand that, I think it's making that interesting. And localization definitely seems to be a massive theme at the moment, I think, that's going around for the operators that are winning.
No, there's a lot to consider, isn't there, when you think about one player and all the data behind them. So that's exactly where these tools help us, because we want to make sure that we're delivering an enjoyable experience for all our players wherever they are in the world, and hitting targeting them at the right time. And this all definitely can't be done manually. So automation tools and artificial AI and things like that are key for helping with this.
While we're on tools, I want to take this back away from brand and take it more to Rebekah here as a CRM head of CRM, right? How many tools are you guys using at Grace day to day? Like, are your groups specialized in certain areas? Have you got generalists? Like, are you going into 3 or 4 key ones each day to do it, like your BI tools, your CRM tools, whatever it might be? Like, do you find that hard to manage at the moment? Like, are you seeing lots of tools, or is it starting to consolidate a little bit?
Yes, I think day to day we use 3 tools, 4 actually, probably. So there are different tools that are doing different things. You've got your back end tools, and then Extreme Push, of course, which is there for journeys and our player communications, and then the automation and the AI tool, and then reporting as well. So yes, we have various tools that we're working across at the moment. Of course, that kind of does come with, challenges to make sure that, we're looking at the right things in all the different tools and trying to bring the information together. I think a lot of companies and a lot of CRM teams have the same thing, have the similar setups where they're using multiple tools. So it's trying to make sure that the training and the team is efficient as well and good, and trying to make sure that everyone knows what they should be looking for and what they should be doing with each tool, and trying to bring integrate them and bring them together in reporting. There's certainly elements that mean that there's time spent being pulling data and information together. It definitely a bit of an overview there for you in terms of the data.
I think that's super useful, and the skills that a CRM executive, for instance, that's coming into your team, are you looking for hard skills around being able to conceptualize data and be able to look at flows and understand branding and understand, how to do that? Is that more important to you than someone coming in and going, I'm an expert on Salesforce Marketing Cloud or whatever it might be that you're potentially using. Do you find that that's the type of skill set that you're looking for as much as the ability to actually be technical and go in and build a campaign?
Yeah, definitely. It's a fun. Well, yeah, hopefully they find it fun job for people joining our CRM team, because you do need to be ideally analytical and creative if possible. It requires both being in CRM. So obviously, which is a hard mix to get when you look at the Venn diagrams, right? Like they're usually on the opposite sides, I think, when you do those tests. Yeah, it's not easy to find people that can do both. And I guess in terms of reporting and stuff, there's training available, right? So you can train someone to do reports and become analytical. You'll get people who are stronger on one side than the other, and then the other one you can kind of coach them and build it into them through experience, which I think is definitely what we do. Because it's certainly a challenge, I'm sure, not just for my CRM team, but all CRM teams trying to find that balance of being creative, so that you are trying out new and fun campaigns, but also analytical to go back to them, report on them, and see if it's worked, if it's been a commercial success, and if it's engaged the players that you wanted in the way you wanted it to.
And do you have good backing to do that testing and iteration for both success? And I'm sure that you guys, and you won't have to be jumping up and down about these ones, but I'm sure there are failures along the way that help learn and help you guys kind of iterate. You've got strong backing within your business to be able to do that, to help deliver an experience? Like, is that important?
Yes, definitely. We need to make sure that we make, the right amount of time for us in terms of always testing new things. You should always want to learn, never think of yourself as an expert, because things are always changing, and there's always ways that we can develop and improve and try new things. You get ideas from competitors and whatnot. I think as a business that's important to us, that everyone's sort of humble in that way, and giving themselves time to test. And if we get something wrong, learn from it, and you can apply it for future knowledge. It's almost a good thing. Obviously, as long as no major disasters, but well, full back end collapse, maybe not so much, but or payment systems failure, maybe not so much, but but no, failing is always good because you can learn from it, right? I think plenty of people say that failure is not really a failure. It's can be used to learn and build for the future.
You talked about learning off competitors there and learning from the industry. We've just come off the back of ICE in London, massive event. What do you guys take from events like that and from the industry in general? Like, what are your predictions potentially, particularly in the casino and bingo space? Like, you're seeing new and innovative game operators, you're seeing free-to-play coming up. I was really interested to see, my perspective, I might have been wrong and missed the room while I was at ICE. A lot less people talking about kind of Bitcoin casinos and crypto casinos, I think, than previous years, for obvious reasons within that market. Like, what are the trends that you guys at Grace are looking at moving into 2023 and 24 and beyond? Yeah, no,
I know what you mean about the Bitcoin one. That seemed bigger last year, didn't it?
That was all the buzz, wasn't it? Every table was like, something, but payments with Bitcoin, starting a Bitcoin casino and all this, but I didn't see any of that at ICE this year. So very interesting.
No. I think the one for us is gamification, looking for other operators or providers of gamified things like spinning wheels and interactive landing pages and that kind of thing. That's a big one for us. We're trying to look out for what's out there and get ideas, because it's something I think we'd love to do more of on our network, that gamification. So when we go to things like ICE, we're always looking out for that. Another one, again, is prizes and stuff. So obviously we spoke about the giveaways. So any kind of third-party provider that can help us in terms of, with our giveaways and prizes. I think there's a few good companies there who offered services around that, and, like how they can help deliver said prizes and whatnot, and integrate it with your promotions that way. It's all about exciting stuff for the players, really engaging content, what would make us stand out from other operators, and just trying to make it so that the players could have a bit of fun with it. It's obviously our sites, casinos are there for entertainment purposes, so we want to just continue to build on that, I think, and that's what we're looking for when we go to events like ICE.
We've covered a lot of ground today, Rebekah. Really great to have you on the podcast, Experts in the Room. I think there's some excellent tidbits there from both being a head of CRM and working in that space and working as a CRM executive, but also some practical tooling tips and kind of workflows and things that brands should be looking out for. So we wish you guys at Grace all the best for 2023. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you got as much out of it as we did, but we certainly enjoyed having you on.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for having me on. It's been great.
Awesome.